follow-up video. I uploaded a video recently that wasn't the best. In retrospect, it really wasn't. I'm going to go over some of the details in that video to help make things easier to understand. What is this and why? In past times, I would tell people to start drawing humans, start drawing people by starting with a stick figure. And it would work, except oftentimes the bodies would be longer than I intended, and so I'd spend more time trying to shorten the bodies with each attempt. This method I'm starting with right here, that starts with the legs going downward and the body going upward, there is something I encountered that told me how to do this, though not as intended, but I can't tell you what it is. It works, but for the same purpose, I just can't credit the person. The only thing I can explain with this is, to tell you what the source is, I'd be breaking a whole lot of rules. Let's start with the legs and better explain myself this time. This helps with the width of the legs, but it can be adjusted later. As you might recall from a previous video, the legs were definitely wider last time. Here I am trying to avoid that, because last time the legs intersected. If I had drawn the connections at the edges, then the legs would intersect that way. This time I'm avoiding it. The same way I drew connections for the legs from the midsection of the body is the same way I'm going to draw the lower legs. Thank you, Undo, for existing. Okay, and now for the feet. I didn't draw the feet, I didn't draw the toes last time, but here, I'll draw it this time. How do we draw feet out here? Feet don't point directly downward, they point at an angle. they're an angle somewhere between flat on the ground, straight facing towards you, and pointing directly downward. I'm going to draw feet much the same way I draw hands, which I'm also going to explain. The shorter end connects to the longer end, just like that. And then, when I iterate the drawing, the nails will go somewhere around the front, right about here, for each of the toes. Again, I'm going to use thinner strokes for this. We haven't gotten there yet, but that's just for you to know. It is very much possible to draw toes. I didn't last time because it wasn't pertinent to me, but I realized that maybe you'd want to know. Alright, let's repeat the process. As this is the right toe, the right hand side is going to be shorter. And I will wait to draw the rest until I'm using thinner strokes. It'll save me the trouble. It'll save me a lot of trouble if I do that. This is why iterating is a thing. If we're careful, we could use less strokes. Now, at the end, we're going to want to combine strokes. Blender doesn't have a real feature for that. It only happens at the beginning. There's this button up here that means that it's labeled auto merge. When you turn it on, the last two lines that are closer to each other would automatically merge, as opposed to without. But how do you do that without auto merging? But then we'd have to what was it again? Haven't used it in so long. So take these for instance. Well, that didn't work. So then what? Control J, and it does. So as you can see, you have multiple options, but it can get messy when you have a bunch of loose strokes running around, all these little dots lying around that are merged on top of one another like this. That can get messy. I don't have a workaround for that. While we're waiting to draw the toes, let's work on the upper body. As you can see, from this angle, it looks like the person is going to be very fat. We don't want that. Well, I'm not going to say it like that. I don't mean to say it like that. I don't know about you, but that's not what I'm aiming for right now. So we can fix this. There we go. We can iterate over this later and ignore the lines that are sticking out like that. When I tried to draw a stick figure in past times, the legs would be fine wherever they were, then so would the arms, but then when I drew it, the overall shape of the body would be too long. The legs would be too wide, the body would be too long. You get the idea. It needed a lot of correcting, is what I'm trying to get at. It's not something I teach anyone to do. It's more of something you could use for animation in that manner. To tell people how to draw the next frame, how to animate over the next frame. And while it works for people, for vehicles or stationary objects or objects that are floating in the wind, etc., the whole stick thing won't work. You have to approximate things, and that's a whole other video. So we have the length of the body, we just need the shoulder pieces, like last time. Looks weird like last time, but that's okay. We're just gonna draw over, aren't we? Let's draw the arms like we did last time. They're going to overlap the body. You can draw them not overlapping the body if you want some sort of pose, but that's up to you. Thank you, undo, for existing. Thank you, undo. If I were doing this on paper, I'd have a really tough time, especially with the unconfident lines. That's a whole other story. Okay, there we go. And now we need hands. Like last time, when we draw hands, we're gonna draw them like we drew the feet. One side's shorter, the other side's longer. You have the thumb down here next to the shorter side. Second longest, first longest, second shortest, first shortest. What's my thought process behind this? Look at your hand. Spread out your fingers as much as possible. You'll notice that each of your fingers are pointing in a direction that isn't the same as the others. They're pointing outward from the hand, but not in a single direction. The same thing applies here. I learned part of this process from somewhere, if I can remember where. Do I have a photo? Can I show this? I do. I'll show it in a screenshot at a later point. I'll throw it somewhere in here when I'm editing the video. Let's draw. The fingers might look fat, but that depends on the distance you draw around the line from. The closer the thinner, and vice versa. Furthermore, when we iterate, you're going to curve the edges, because if you look at your hands, there are no straight edges, there are no sharp lines, no direct V lines connecting two fingers. Much like a duck, much like a duck's bills, your hands are webbed. The only difference is not as webbed as a duck's bills, because they're built for land, not water. It's time to draw a head. Wait, no it's not. It's time to draw the base of the hands. This side's shorter, this side's longer, the fingers will wait. Here it's vice versa, and we're into the same problem that we ran into last time, where we have overlapping lines. The only fix for this is during iterating or beforehand when you're done with the base drawing to erase as many of the lines that you don't want to see in the next iteration as possible. Now it's time to draw ahead. The circle, the U. You saw me do that, didn't you? The circle for the up part of the head, and then the U in whatever shape for the chin and mouth. This is the part where you can come up with whatever kind of chin you want, and you can do this from any angle. In fact, there is someone I can name who pointed this out to me without them even realizing. Side angle. Now we have that here. Let's draw the neck. And wait that out for... Would you look at that? The head's too small. Again. I suppose I'll do. New layer, and we're gonna add clothes. But first, I gotta make your life easier. We're iterating this. We don't need some of the inner lines. I won't go with this method in the future, but it's there for your reference. Let's get some clothes going in here. I'm going to talk about a shirt right now to tell you how to make wrinkles. Let's take this arm for instance. Let's assume this shirt isn't perfectly smooth, that it's not made of polyester, and there are some wrinkles in here, especially on the edges. There. That looks a little more wrinkly, doesn't it? And this is something you can easily animate. Well, okay, I shouldn't say easily about anything. This is something you can animate to begin with. It's going to take a painstaking amount of time. There. That's being a little more honest about it. But the same method applies to any clothes that might have wrinkles somewhere along the line. So when we iterate this without all the loose lines we're tracing over it, those wrinkles will really start to come to life. You'll see the wrinkles in there. Though, maybe in your own case, you make them a little less dramatic than this, somewhere along the lines of this here, maybe a few less wrinkles. I don't know. You can decide that for yourself. Pants are the same thing. We're not drawing the pants in here. We're not drawing the pants here because we don't need to. Just the legs. In future reference, you know what? Let me talk about that right now. If you have lines that intersect, you may want to choose which line stays and which line doesn't get cut. There's a feature for that, I don't know where it is. There it is. That's what that does. So in this case, I want the right hand side to be there, but not the left. So the right is in front of the left. But that's not really visible to repair it here. I don't need to. And here's the problem I experienced yesterday. Or should I say, basically this morning as of this recording. I tried to explain how to draw shoes and had a very terrible time. It is a weakness of mine. I will have you know, the only thing I can't draw at this point are shoes. I don't know why, but I just can't. These ends need to be trimmed down just a little bit because we want to see the hands. So there and there should be fine. As the layers are locked, I won't erase anything else. And now for the collar. Upwards if back only, but if it's a turtleneck, then downwards too. I'm going for a turtleneck look, so of course I'm going to draw it just a little taller. There we go. I'm going to talk ahead about hair. It's going to get gruesome. I did very much explain here yesterday. Or should I say this morning, basically. I had the time of my life trying very hard to explain something poorly. There are multiple ways to cover this. The line method is where you draw lines and then draw strokes around those lines. Alternatively, you could use those lines to draw clumps. And then in future iterations, you could choose to erase the lines you don't want. Another method is the block method, where for applicable hairstyles, you just draw lines where strands would separate in some places, and then erase the lines you don't need when you're done. Those are two methods I'm aware of right now. Remember to draw by layers. I'm doing this backwards, but the order is front, side, then back. Well, I could be a little mistaken here and there. Okay, let's iterate. It's gonna stay bald for the time being. I'll throw some eyes in there at the end. Eyes need a thinner stroke line, stroke width, so they're gonna go last. That's the only thing I can say about that. This is gonna get confusing for you, but we gotta do it this way. Or, you know, we can just erase things that we don't need. This arm is behind, so this arm's in front. So and because this arm is behind, we don't need the hand here. At this point, it's only there for reference. This hand, however, is very necessary. Just that the arm isn't. We no longer need it. We can't see the legs or feet inside here. So as much as I wanted to draw toes on them, I won't. Finally, we can only see so much of the head through this shirt. Wait, turtleneck. Now, let's start tracing over things. This line here will be ignored. And so will the inner line here. At this point, we gotta accept that it's not gonna be perfect. That's why we're calling it an iteration. Before we go any further, let's draw the hand and ignore the line inside of it. I curved a little bit instead of drawing jagged. I curved. This part's gonna be a little gruesome. Just bear with me. Thumb here. Second longest. First longest. Second shortest. First shortest. This is gonna be one weird hand, but we have to deal with it for now. I'm not very great with it. I said it was gonna be perfect, but I'm gonna try. I'll try to get close. The Shiba's head isn't very pleasant, but it'll do. We need to add eyes. I'm not changing the stroke width for this. Last time, I showed you only one way to draw an eye. What way? Turns out, there are three more I forgot to mention. Courtesy of Anime Outline, I'm going to use this one, but you deserve to know that there is very much more than one way to draw an eye. I just gave you only one last time. It's probably one you wouldn't be attracted with. Let me try it again. It's probably one you wouldn't be. Can I please stop stirring? It's probably one you wouldn't be attracted to. I present to you the return of Nightmare Fuel. Let's iterate this again, but this time, let's make a few changes. First, the fingers need to be a little larger here. Hey, Fingers still look like crap. I suppose it's the worst of it. There was another way to do this, believe it or not. There was. Here. There's a setting called thickness. Gonna lower strength a bunch. Alone, it widens the strokes, but when you hold control, it thins them, it narrows them. And so, if I didn't want to iterate by tracing over it in this program, I could just let the sculpt tool do its thing with the thickness brush. Though you can see that some results may vary even if you lower the strength. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to try again with the hair another time. I'm going to try a bunch of different hairstyles in another video to help better explain hair the next time around. So first comes a video where I try a whole bunch of different hairstyles, see what works for what cases, and then record a video doing those hairstyles again without all the bumbling around.